We are pleased this morning to announce the arrest of Robert Letroy Howard. Investigators began to consider suspect Howard as a person of interest and began conducting further background investigations of him. There is no joy in what we do, but I would tell you that there are those who are paid to stare in the face of evil and not blink.
I could look over the rail. She was right where the water starts coming back into the woods.
I never would thought that he would do anything like this. I just can't believe it. It's really heartbreaking. It really hurts.
Case solved. Big developments today in the Naomi Jones homicide case.
We have team coverage. First, we began with the arrest of Robert Howard of East Brewton. Again, we have team coverage. Christopher Saul is in Brewton outside of Howard's home. David Gonzalez is in Escambia County at Olive Baptist Church, where a vigil for Naomi is planned for 7 o'clock.
First, we're joined by Jacqueline. She's live outside the Aspen Village Apartments. That's where Naomi lived and ultimately where this investigation began. Jacqueline?
Bob, Sue, that's right. This is where it all began, the Aspen Village Apartments. This is not only where Naomi was abducted, but this is where she met the man who is accused of killing her, a man with a criminal past, and now investigators are working to find the pieces that they are missing. Robert Howard was taken into custody here at the apartments early Thursday morning. He is now charged in the death of 12-year-old Naomi Jones. Her body was found Monday in the 8 Mile Creek, 5 days after she was reported missing. Investigators say she was killed within the first 24 to 36 hours after her disappearance. Escambia County Sheriff David Morgan announced Howard was a person of interest from the very beginning. Morgan says he could frequently be found here at the Aspen Village Apartments where Naomi lived because that's where his girlfriend lived. Howard was under surveillance overnight before he was taken into custody. Morgan said surveillance video puts Howard on Ashland Avenue around the time that Naomi's body was dumped into the creek.
Video surveillance from citizens provided an accurate vehicle description on Ashland Avenue at the time of the disposal of Naomi Jones's body. Investigators knew that his vehicle matched the vehicle on the video driven by Howard.
Howard is no stranger to law enforcement. He was convicted in 1999 in Alabama for sexual assault and rape of 2 adult women. He served a 15-year sentence and was released in 2013. Now, because of those charges, Howard is a registered sex offender in Alabama. However, he is not registered here in Florida. He is currently charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and failure to register as a sex offender. The state attorney's office said this morning in a news conference that they will likely seek the death penalty. Reporting live, Jacqueline Kovac, Channel 3 News.
Now, it was soon after Howard's arrest, the FBI began searching his East Brewton mobile home. Christopher Saul is near that search area. Christopher, how is the community there reacting to the news of his arrest?
Sue, it's been a hard day for the community here. Right behind me is where Robert Howard was registered as a sex offender, and most of the towns of East Brewton and Brewton knew him very well from his days as a star running back on a high school football team here in Brewton. They say they're shocked that something like this could happen. Neighbors in this trailer park knew him least of all. Olivia McCormick lived across from him for at least a year.
He would just come in, go in his house, come out, get in his car, and leave. He was very to himself kind of person.
But he was well known in this small community. Jennifer Travis went to high school with him and was just as stunned when he was arrested this time as she was when he was arrested in 1999.
You know, when I heard that, I couldn't even believe that either. I couldn't believe it. And I was shocked. I guess everybody else was too.
The events, so close to home, have had an effect.
You know, the type of guy he was in school, you know, everybody liked him. He was an all-around nice, friendly guy, you know, and no one would thought nothing like this from him, you know, and I even wouldn't thought in a million years anything like this from him, you know, and then find out something that he done this and stuff like that. Yeah, it's really heartbreaking. It really hurts.
Across the small creek which separates the two towns, the employees of Fritcar Incorporated try to get back to work. Howard worked here for 3 years as a switchman on the railroad tracks. Carla Carpenter also went to high school with Howard. She's the HR manager here.
To my knowledge, he seemed to be a model employee. We never had any issues with him.
They too have to work through the feelings brought on by this case.
Honestly, we're all really sad. We're all very surprised. We're kind of learning all this stuff just like everybody else is, so, you know, we're not really sure what to think.
Howard's last day of work was Tuesday evening. His HR manager did have brief contact with him Tuesday evening. She said that he seemed normal to her. Live in East Brewton, Christopher Saul, Channel 3 News.
Right now, Robert Howard is in the Escambia County Jail with no bond. The Escambia Sheriff's Office, the FBI, and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement each played a critical role in the arrest and the investigation. Earlier today, the sheriff confirmed Howard, as you heard, was not registered as a sex offender in Florida. It was in Alabama. The FDLE confirms they interviewed sex offenders, though, within a 5-mile radius of Naomi's home at that apartment complex. They, along with the Escambia Sheriff's Office, dispatched agents and analysts to the scene to canvass the neighborhood.
Without going into much details, his story initially, his time frames were a little off. Okay, he was cooperative, but so we note that, and basically, you know, we were like, you know, we can't just leave him alone. We have to go back and maybe do a little bit more digging.
While Howard was not a registered sex offender in Florida, Massey says he spent enough time here in Florida to require him to report his status here.
Our team coverage continues with Jacqueline Kelly, who is in the Live Center. Now, Jacqueline, as Bob just mentioned, although, you know, Howard was not registered here in Florida, but there are resources that can help parents to track offenders in their neighborhoods. And one of them we have on our website.
Right. It's called Alert ID. It's easy to use, and as you said, it is right on our website. All you have to do is go to our website, weartv.com, click on the News tab. It's going to take you to the Alert ID tab. You click on that, and you're going to go to our crime map. That's where you can track crimes happening in your neighborhood. All you have to do is type in your address. We typed in the address here of our studios, and it lists all the different crimes that have been happening in and around that radius. Now, you can actually narrow your search down to the different crimes. So by clicking these crime icons off, you can actually narrow your search down to sex offenders. That's a big one, and you can see through the map where the sex offenders are, where they're at in relation to your home, your school, whatever the case. And then you can actually even click on these icons, and it will show you the picture, the name, and the address of the sex offender, as well as the crime that they committed. So it's a useful tool, it's easy to use, and you can use it on our mobile app. Sue?
Jared, Sue, Robert Howard appeared before a judge on the video screen from the Escambia County Jail. He didn't really say much during his 10-minute court appearance, but he did answer a question by the judge as to how much he makes per week at his job. Now, Howard is accused of kidnapping and killing 12-year-old Naomi Jones. Jones was reported missing on June 1st. Her body was found in the 8 Mile Creek 5 days later. Escambia County Sheriff David Morgan said she died of asphyxiation. Now, Howard was taken into custody early Thursday morning at the Aspen Village apartments where Naomi Jones lived. Howard's girlfriend also lives in those apartments. During his court appearance this morning, the judge agreed not to change his bond. However, that doesn't mean Howard will be able to get out of jail.
In this case, because he has no bond on 2 counts, even if he were to post a $600,000, he would not be able to be released.
Howard's next court date has been set for June 30th. At that time, he will be formally arraigned on the charges, and the state attorney's office hopes to have an indictment from the grand jury as well as a decision on the death penalty. Now, Assistant State Attorney Greg Marcial tells me right now this case appears to fit the bill for what they would need to pursue a death penalty sentence in this case. However, they will not make that final decision until later this month.
Sheriff David Morgan told us today that social media played a role in this case. Channel 3's Christina Leavenworth joins us now with more.
Sue, like many 12-year-old girls, Naomi Jones was connected on social media. Her mother brought that up early in the investigation as a concern.
Snapchat, Facebook, she had a Musical.ly.
She was so connected to her phone, that was one reason why her mom knew something was wrong.
It's not like a 12-year-old child to have a cell phone and not carry it with them everywhere that they go. It's like their lifeline, like they clutch onto these cell phones nowadays like their life depended on it. And that's her. Her cell phone is always with her.
Sheriff David Morgan told us this morning social media is a component in this case. However, he would not explain on how it's playing a role.
We allow, social media and popular culture to raise our children. And so I think in the final analysis of this case, we're going to find that probably as much as anything, this was a huge contributor to the demise of Naomi Jones. And I find that sad. Why? Because I can tell you, I can't stop that. Law enforcement cannot stop that. Only parents can stop that.
This tragedy has hit the whole community, even other children. Due to social media, they have also been following this case. Dr. David Josephs with Lakeview Center says parents need to be prepared to answer questions.
I think we have to, in answering specific questions, understand the age of the children we're answering the questions to. Children are not little adults. So what might be okay for an answer to us as adults, that level of detail is not necessary, particularly if it has a lot of gore or stuff in there. We don't need to do that detail. But things like, here's what we know now. The bad thing happened to her. We don't know all the details, but here's the things we can do to make sure you stay safe.
Dr. Joseph says as horrible as this tragedy is, it can be a teachable moment to remind your kids if they see something, say something. It's also a constant reminder that you must always monitor your child's social media activity.
And today, the crime scene is gone, but in its place, a growing memorial from the community. That's where we find David Gonzalez. David.
Yeah, as you said, that scene of where Naomi Jones's body was discovered yesterday around 4 o'clock is quickly becoming a memorial. We've seen a lot of people stop by here at the scene to try to pay their respects and try to process exactly what happened here yesterday. For example, just within the last few minutes, someone came up and tied the sign to the railing. It reads, "Thank you to all that helped. Fly high, Naomi, we will be your light." And also within the last 20 to 30 minutes, Naomi's father stopped by the scene and he actually tied these pink balloons with the hearts on them. He didn't really say much and he didn't really want to talk on camera. He just wanted to have his moment out here and pay his respects as well. He did tie his balloons along with some other family members that left some teddy bears and figurines, but people that we spoke to say they felt necessary to come out here and kind of just do their parts in what has unfortunately turned out to be a tragic outcome in the search for Naomi Jones. I also spoke with Naomi Jones's former principal at Ferry Pass Elementary School, and she said that the last memory she has of Naomi was at her 5th grade banquet. She had just graduated from there, was excited to go to middle school. She said she was a very good student and was also looking forward to becoming a cheerleader at the middle school. But for example, as you see behind me right now, people are doing their parts and wanting to pay their respects to Naomi Jones and also to her family. A lot of people that we spoke to have brought kids as well to drop off teddy bears, as you see on your screen right now. They are all very solace and very, I'm trying to figure out what to say exactly, because right now, as you can see, it's a very emotional time for a lot of people that are just trying to process what exactly happened to that 12-year-old girl. But as you know, her body was discovered out here yesterday around 4 o'clock. And this had been a very, very active crime scene since that time, but within the last hour, the scene opened up and people are just taking advantage to do their part and pay tribute to Naomi Jones. Of course, we'll be following the story, and we did talk to some people that just wanted to be out here, and coming up later tonight on Channel 3 News at 10, we'll actually tell you about how they're communicating what exactly happened to children, because it's not an easy topic to talk about. Reporting in Pensacola, David Gonzalez, Channel 3 News.
David, thank you. Well, we continue to follow the case of Naomi Jones. Coming up at 5, we're going to talk to an expert to find out what you can say to your kids after a tragedy like this one. And don't forget to follow